The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 302 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 2014's Exists is Cory Johnson.
Heyo!
And returning, this is the first time we've had a returning director, and we are beyond thrilled to have him back talking about one of my favorite found footage movies, is Eduardo Sanchez. How are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm the returning champion, right?
Yeah.
You are the returning champion.
In fact, you are. Yeah, I remember we were talking on the Blair Witch episode, and you were like, I would love to come back for Exist. And I'm like, I'm not going to say no to that because I love the conversation we had about Blair Witch. Exist is one of my favorite found footage movies. I don't even remember how I think one of my friends randomly recommended it to me a few years back. And all he had to say was, found footage and Bigfoot. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I did some digging and I was like, wait a second. The same dude who did Blair Witch Project did this? I was like, all right, I'm in. And it's been a hit with me ever since. And even Cory, that's why he's here as well.
Yeah, it was probably like a week or so after Austin had watched it. And he just sent me this message on Facebook and he was like, yo, have you ever seen this? And I'm like, I've scrolled past it on Amazon a bunch of times, but like the title card doesn't, like, I don't get it. And I read the summary and I was like, I don't know. And then Austin was like, no, you got to check it out.
Check it out.
I hit him up within 5 minutes of finishing it. And I'm like, yep, I get it. It's fucking awesome.
Well, cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's a really good time. And anytime someone's like, what's a really underrated found footage movie? It always Exists for me. Because most people are like, I haven't even heard of that. I'm like, well, you should have heard of it by now because it's fantastic. I can't believe it's been 11 years since it's been out too, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen Exists and you're starting this episode, go ahead and take a pause right now. You can go watch this on Prime. It's on Tubi as well, I believe. It's on a few places. So go check it out before you listen to this episode. It's going to be very spoiler heavy. And if you haven't listened to the Blair Witch Project episode with Eduardo, please go back and listen to that as well. For longtime listeners of this show, you might be confused because you're like, hey, didn't we cover this already? And we did. We covered this 3 years ago. Funny enough, it was released February 11th, 2022, where me and Cory talked about this. And here it is, February 12th, 3 years later, and now we're talking to the director. So yes, we're covering this again, but it's under different circumstances. So we're gonna have a totally different conversation. So,
and we're a little bit more honed in how we analyze and talk about things.
A little bit. Yeah.
So I feel like we can come at this just a little bit better than we did last time.
Yeah. So let's just let's do this here right now. Let's talk about what happened kind of after the Blair Witch. Obviously, that was a huge success for you guys, and you even mentioned on the last episode. It was kind of unexpected with how it took off and all the screenings and how it went worldwide with theatrical releases. So let's kind of talk about after coming off the massive high of Blair Witch, like what was life kind of like, and where did you want to take your directing career next?
Yeah, life was good, but it was like, we had some money, and it was I had been, pretty much poor my entire life, and I had spent my entire 20s just trying to make movies. So I was like, had a crappy car and just living paycheck to paycheck, and so I finally had a little bit of money, and I bought a car that I actually could fit in because I'm like Bigfoot sized. And then and I bought a house, and, my girlfriend and I, fiance, planned to have, to get married and stuff. And so I was kind of like enjoying it. I was at like 30 30 years old, 31 at this point, and it was like, you know, it's kind of enjoying the basic things that, you know, at that age you're supposed to be kind of enjoying if you have like a full-time job or whatever. So you know, horror was like, you know, after 3 years of like being in this Blair Witch world, where I had, you know, we had done the movie and I had worked on the website, and, you know, it was just very dark space. And both Dan and I, Dan Myrick, the guy I did the Blair Witch with, we were like, you know, we didn't want to do another horror movie. So we tried to do this movie, this comedy. And it was like, you know, like just this stupid, like, you know, Monty Python meets Airplane, you know, meets like this Chandler movie, like this really like crude humor and just kind of, you know, just kind of all out there, you know, all kind of just crazy stuff, South Parky stuff, you know, like nasty crap. And we you know, the Blair Witch sequel came out and it didn't do well, and, you know, the company that Artisan, which we had to deal with for Blair Witch, we also had a deal for this second film, which was called Heart of Love, which was like, you know, just a stupid title for like the stupid, it was going to be so much fun, man. And so we went to Cannes with it, and we pre-sold it even before we wrote the script. And, you know, we were like kind of riding the Blair Witch juice. And then we started, you know, writing the script, and we had the script, and then it just, you know, it was, a lot of it was just, I think we should have like probably taken like 6 months off, you know, and just kind of relaxed and, you know, gone to, you know, Bermuda or whatever. But we kind of kept working part-time and kind of kept at it. And I think we just started getting kind of burned out, and all of us at Haxon, there was 5 of us, we all kind of started scattering, like doing our own projects. Dan like went to LA and he met with New Line, and he was developing a script with them. And it was you know, Greg, the producer of Blair Witch, went off and did something with Fox. He did a show called Freaky Links. And so we were all kind of, you know, just kind of taking advantage of all the opportunities. And you know, just Heart of Love for some reason just started stagnating. We had a producer that, you know, that wasn't like exactly producing. And then we also, you know, it wasn't all our fault. It was also Artisan was like kind of trying to use Heart of Love as leverage to make us do another Blair Witch movie. And we were like, you know, we were just angry at like, why are you trying to leverage us? But, you know, it's the basic thing. Like, you know, everybody says like, when you come out of Sundance or you come out of like a hit film, try not to sign like any kind of multi-picture deal with anybody, because they're going to use it to you, like to basically like to keep you, because we basically had to run the movie by them. And if they wanted to do the movie, then they could hold it. So they were just like, you know, it's just a kind of an old Hollywood trick, and they were using it as leverage. And then 9/11 happened, and the bottom fell out of everything. And, you know, the movie kind of went away, all the advances, everybody's like asking for the advances back. And that's when we kind of, you know, as Haxon, as a group, we kind of broke up. I moved back to Maryland. We were all in Orlando, and I moved back to Maryland. We shut down the offices, and and I just kind of, I mean, I guess semi-retired, you know, I definitely was writing and stuff, but just trying to deal, you know how, I mean, 9/11 was just like this big freaking thing, and everybody was just like shocked, and I honestly just didn't feel like doing anything. So I just basically, you know, started a family and was kind of enjoying myself, you know, just being a father and being a husband. And you know, it took me about 5 years to kind of just like get back into it. I read this script called Probed by this guy named Jamie Nash. And it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of a coincidence because he lived like 45 minutes away from me, and I live in Maryland. So it's not like it's, you know, Hollywood Mecca, like LA. And you're like, oh, it's a coincidence. We all live in, you know, we live in the same city, you know, but it was weird that we lived, you know, and he, you know, so I love this script, and it was the first time where I was like, man, I really think I could make this movie. Like I kind of like, you know, got the creative juices flowing to, you know, to do another horror movie. And that movie ended up being altered. Okay. My alien abduction movie. And, you know, we shot that in Florida, and, you know, we sold it. The studio like just didn't really release it it just went to video, and it was very disappointing for us. It was kind of like, the movie is, I'm really happy with it, really proud of it. I think we did a great job, but it's like they called it a tweener, which is kind of like, it's not really a horror movie, it's not really a drama, it's not really a comedy. So they're hard to market, those movies. And the studio just, it happened to be that the guys that kind of loved the movie left the company. The other people came in and were like, nah, we don't want to do it. We don't want to spend any more money and stuff. Kind of the basic story. But that crushed me, man. I mean, that was like, damn, dude, my follow-up to Blair Witch, ends up on freaking DVD. And so it was a big, kind of a big hit for me, man. And I really thought about what should I be doing? And, just kind of like, should I stay in this filmmaking thing? And it was really a dark time for me. Man. So I kind of concentrating on, on the family. We had had my son, we had my daughter first, and then my son like 2.5 years later. And then, Haxan, we a few of us kind of started getting back together, and we did Altered, and we did a movie called Seventh Moon, which was in China, which was a really cool experience. And kind of depressing as well, because we were shooting, it's like a night movie, and we were shooting in Hong Kong, and we were shooting like in graveyards, and it was,
oh man,
crazy. And my two kids were there, and and it was fun being with the kids and stuff, but it was also just really a lot of pressure, and kind of literally like a dark time again continued. And then right when we were about to release Seventh Moon, the video market, the bottom fell out of the video market. And we literally, it was like 2007, we literally went from like $100,000 advances turned into like $10,000 advances, and it was it was a bloodbath for everybody. And then so we kind of licked our wounds and tried to keep going. And then again, we did another movie called Lovely Molly, which was more critically accepted, and thought of, I think it's one of my better films. And it was a really cool experience. I was able to shoot it here in Maryland. And then the last film we did together as Haxan was Exists, which we're going to talk about later. And it was kind of a dream come true to do a Bigfoot movie. And for Lovely Molly, we got a couple of new partners, Jane Fleming and Mark Ordesky, who were these executives at New Line. Mark was like the main guy who kind of shepherded Lord of the Rings. So very important guy, very cool people. And we partnered up with them. So they did Lovely Molly with us. And then Mark was like huge Bigfoot geek as well. And I was like, dude, I want to make a Bigfoot movie. He was like, man, I've been wanting to make a Bigfoot movie since I was a kid. I'm like, me too. We kind of geeked out. And we did Exist. We actually, Exist kind of has a weird history, because we actually wrote like a kind of a big budget Exists, $5, $6, $7 million, and it was took place in like Siberia, like just middle of nowhere, Asia, Russia, southern Russia, eastern Russia.
Okay.
And it was cool, man. I mean, it's actually still a good script, and I show it around every once in a while, just hoping to get it made. But we were this close to like having like a real studio deal for it. We shopped it around, and a lot of people were interested. And then this company called Legendary, which does like the Godzilla movies, about as big as you can get. They really loved it, and they were like, man, we've spent so much money on Bigfoot movies, like developing them, and this one seems to be like the one that like really cracks the code. And then so that weekend, we went to LA. We kind of like, all right, yeah, we got the movie. We kind of, we sold it. Weekend, we celebrated, and then on Monday they were like, hey, we talked to Warner Brothers about it, and they don't want to do a Bigfoot movie. So we were like, we had interest from Dimension and a bunch of other Screen Gems and a bunch of other companies. They all went away, and it's just the curse of the Bigfoot movies, man. The Bigfoot movies, it's hard to get any respect. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been really a breakout Bigfoot movie, you know, other than like Harry and the Hendersons, which was, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think that movie made that much money. I wouldn't call it like a huge mega hit or anything. But so then we like, you know, we kind of rolled up our sleeves and we're like, you know, let's just do like a low budget version. So we did exist. We shot it in Texas, in Bastrop, Texas, which is near Austin, and we shot it in this back lot, this place called Spiderwood. I think it's called something different now, but it basically was like, it had the sound stage, it had offices, and then it had like riverfront property, like just woods and fields. And it was kind of like the perfect place to shoot a movie, because, you know, a movie in the woods, because you could shoot the movie and be in the woods, and then you could go into the, you know, air conditioning, you know, cafeteria and the offices. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. But we had a great time, man. It was like, again, it was just kind of a dream come true to make a Bigfoot movie. And like, just all the whole process was great. I mean, you know, it's like it's always stressful making a movie, because you're kind of like, you know, don't know if it's good or whatever. But once we got it edited and we saw the creature in action, and, you know, we were like, you know, I knew we had something cool. So that one, you know, we opened in South by Southwest, and we were bought by Lionsgate, and we won like the audience award at South by Southwest. And, you know, really proud of it. And it ended up being my last film. After Exists, I did VHS 2. I did a short in VHS 2, but that was the last time I was on a film set. I got an opportunity to start directing television. Robert Rodriguez invited me out to do an episode of Dusk Till Dawn, and I did. I was super nervous and like, oh my God, you know, I'm following up Robert Rodriguez, and and it was weird because, you know, I was like literally shooting kind of a remake of the movie, like scenes from the movie. So, you know, with a new cast, and that's kind of, you know, such an iconic movie.
Oh yeah.
It was a huge kind of like just shock to me, but I pulled it off, and, you know, they loved my work. They invited me back. I think I did 4 episodes of Dusk Till Dawn in the end. And it kind of jump-started my television directing career, and I started just kind of getting jobs shooting in Vancouver. I shot a series called, right after Dusk Till Dawn, I landed this great series by Glenn Morgan, who's like one of the gurus of X-Files, like one of the, you know, kind of dudes that like did the original X-Files, like really great writer. There's this thing called Intruders. Okay. And it was Mira Sorvino and, you know, John Sim from, you know, from the UK, and it was just like I couldn't believe I was directing this, and the debut of Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh shit!
She was 9 years old, and, you know, we all knew she was already a star. And that was a crazy experience, and then just kept doing television. I got lucky and did, you know, Queen of the South and Lucifer, and, you know, recently I've done Star Trek, and I've done some FBI shows, and I did Goosebumps, and, you know, but just kind of going from one to the next, and just really lucky and blessed to have been, you know, to make the transition from, you know, an indie world of filmmaking to television. And so I've been kind of steadily working in television, and now, like, I guess 10 or 11 years later, I finally am about to like start, we're about to start casting a film, like a horror thriller film. Yes. My first film since Exists, and it's cool. And so, you know, again, like now the TV stuff has kind of led to films, and I still want to do TV. Like, actually, my partner and I, Greg Hale, and I are pitching a show next month, and hope to get that, you know, rolling. But you know, kind of always in the horror genre, you know. I feel like I've been really lucky to have had now like a 25-year career, and it's you know, I love horror now. You know, I never considered myself a horror filmmaker. I think I probably talked to you guys about that last time. but it's such a great genre to be stuck in if you consider me stuck, because there's so many subgenres of horror movies and TV shows and everything. So far so good, man. I can't complain about where I'm at. And the business has been very slow. Last year was brutal for many people. I only had 2 jobs last year, which I usually get like 5 or 6 jobs. And I was one of the lucky ones because there's some friends of mine, directors, that like had no work last year at all. So, hopefully it's kind of slowly picking back up, and, hope to start directing TV again. And then also I think, probably this movie won't start shooting until next fall.
Okay.
But I've got a couple of other movies that are like, getting developed, and I've been producing some stuff. So just trying to stay busy, and then, trying to thin out my Star Wars collection, which is, just completely over, it's just this, it's just killing me. It's just burying me. No, I mean, look, I love it. But my wife and I were like, we need to get rid of some of this stuff. So slowly going through and selling some stuff. And and then, I have 2 kids in college and 1 kid here in high school. And, we're just kind of like, getting through it and see what happens, and, living my life. And now I'm here talking to you guys. So that was kind of the history of Ed Sanchez.
I love it. Yeah. And you make my job so easy, because I had like 4 or 5 questions that you just answered all in a row. So it's perfect.
I talk a lot, man.
No, that's perfect. So you answered so many questions, but on the kind of subject of episodic television, being a guest director, kind of coming on to an established set, like what kind of challenges do you run into, and what do you like about it?
I mean, I love, it's very similar to indie filmmaking, because indie, you're like, you never have any money, and you're constantly going, 100 miles an hour. And TV, even though like you have more money, and the pace is kind of like, you just are constantly kind of going. A lot of like long days, and sometimes, very few, sometimes you can't make your days because something happens. And so I'm very used to that speed, to that kind of rhythm. So it was kind of cool. It was fine going from like indie to television. So, and I love like, just meeting new people. There's so many talented people in the business. And, it's like there's this thing, like when I was in film school, and I guess, when I was younger, there's this kind of thing of like, you can't see yourself doing anything but, directing, writing and directing, and kind of being, the next Spielberg or whatever. And you don't realize like how fulfilling just filmmaking and, making television, like how fulfilling it is in all, a bunch of different positions. I always thought that like, with the director was kind of like the most important thing. I had to be a director or whatever, but I just see like so many great artists like working in every position and loving it, and like really like, contributing to the show. And that's my favorite part, is just kind of like being open. I'm a very collaborative director. So I come in like prepared, but also I'm very open to other people's ideas. And, some of the best things that happen in film and in TV, that in my career have come from other people, other people that I've kind of opened the door and said, hey, I want you to, collaborate with me here. So I think it's important to do that. And I just love doing that. I love meeting new people. And the best thing is that like, no matter where you are, and I've shot like, in Budapest and, and Denmark and Canada and, all over the United States and Puerto Rico. And the crews are like very similar. Like it's just people like really love what they're doing. I mean, obviously there's some people that are like disgruntled and but honestly, very few people like I think, I mean, filmmaking is so hard that you kind of have to love it or else you're gonna die. And they don't, nobody likes the long hours, and sometimes you're just, bad things happen, and just because you can't control it. But most of the time there's just this joy of like people doing what they love, and it's very rare to see that, what I'm saying. So that's what I love about it, and then the challenges are, it's you're basically like the creative boss to a whole new bunch of people that most of them you've never met. Now I've I always know somebody on I've worked on with somebody on something. And so I have friends, but there's always this thing of like, how do I go in there and be a good manager, basically,
right.
Yeah. And also, and like it's like you have this thing of like, you're just one of the directors, like you got to come in and keep I always say just keep the train moving, don't fumble the ball, whatever, kind of analogy you want to make. And then just, and be able to hand it off to the next director and, as smoothly as possible and not cause trouble and, be creative, but, be a problem solver and, and don't complain. And, so I like going, I mean, there's very few times that I've done shows and I've really been just really, really sad and just not having a good time. Like there's always something cool about it.
Okay.
And it's just, most of the time people are just happy to be working and no matter where it is. And I just, I love that. And then, working with actors, again, you learn so much from these actors. And then the guys doing the lighting, the DPs is, you're just like, man, that looks cool. And, camera, I love letting the cameramen kind of do their thing a little bit at the beginning, just to kind of see what they come up with. And then if I don't like it, or if I have a different idea, I'm like, hey, let's do this over here. But it's just so much creativity. And again, if you let people do good work for you, they're happy to do it. So that's the thing, that I enjoy, and the challenge. And also, I mean, and the challenge also is just being away from home for, a month at a time and living in a hotel and kind of getting used to where am I going to do groceries and where am I going to eat and, just finding your way around town. What do I do on the weekends? Where's the, where can I get my cocaine? And,
it's hard to find cocaine in Denmark.
hard, yeah. So, it's but that's hard, but it's cool. And I said earlier, I just, I feel sometimes I feel like I got to pinch myself because I'm doing this thing that that I love doing, and it's it's work. You definitely get up sometimes and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. But I'm very lucky to do what I do, and hopefully we can continue to do it for a few many more years.
Yeah, I noticed because I actually just recently started going through Yellow Jackets because we're me and my wife are super pumped about season 3, which actually drops in a couple days. And,
Jessica and I are hyped for that.
Yeah, so and I'm going through it, and I think it was where is it? It was season 2, I think, and it said directed by Eduardo Sanchez, and I was like, oh my god, I had no idea you did a Yellow Jackets episode. So it's really cool to just see your name pop up there, and because I had no idea.
It's surreal, dude. I just watched I did an episode of Goosebumps. So I just watched the whole season just to, see from beginning to end. And it's just, again, it's humbling, man, I'm a part of this, creative journey. And it's just, again, every time I see my name up there, I'm like, I just can't, it's surreal, man. It really is.
That's awesome. And I like how you kind of answered how you went from these movies into episodic television. And one of my questions was going to be, are you going to make another feature? And you've already answered that as well. So I'm very excited to obviously be on the lookout for that. And then, in the coming years, it's very exciting. But kind of working our way back to Exist here. You mentioned on the last episode, you were a big Sasquatch, Bigfoot kind of fan. Is this something that began very early in your life and you just kind of became obsessed with it? Where did the Sasquatch fandom kind of begin for you?
Well, I was a kid during the heyday of Legend of Boggy Creek and the kind of the crazy the popularization of Bigfoot in the 70s, $6 Million Man, and it was everywhere. Action figures, Bigfoot and Wild Boy, just those kind of iconic things. And and I love Bigfoot. I especially love the Bigfoot documentaries, I loved like the episode of In Search Of that was Bigfoot, and really it was not only Bigfoot, but it was Bigfoot and aliens and ghosts and just anything kind of supernatural, paranormal. And but Bigfoot to me was my my favorite, because it scared the crap out of me, but there was this level of like, if I can become friends with it,
we can be friends, man.
Of it as a monster, you know what I mean? Like I never thought of it. I just thought of it as like a misunderstood creature that is on, is trying to hide, and us humans are the enemy. Honestly, man, I would watch some of those, like Bigfoot documentaries, and they would like haunt me for months. Like sleeping with the lights on, and we lived in an apartment. And, in the like right in the edge of DC, like it's not a wooded area at all. But there was this creek. There's this wooded creek behind my house between our apartment complex and the other one. And I was I was sure that Bigfoot lived in there. I would look for tracks, and I'd be walking around, going to the creek and just, trying to see if, I could find some evidence, looking for fur on the, on the tree, so a little bit of fur. And then, anytime as soon as it started getting dark, I was just getting, just get me the hell out of there. But so that kind of, I just loved it. But I always, I had a, really kind of respect for the creature. But I always felt that like as far as films and television, nobody like made a cool Bigfoot. Like the suit was always, obviously, Andre the Giant and the damn suit and the $6 Million Man. And, it was obvious, the Bigfoot suit and $6 Million Man, like the feet were so flat. I'm like, why are Bigfoot's feet so flat? So, it always bothered me that it was like, oh, it looks like a dude in a suit. And then Harry and the Hendersons did a really great job. But then Harry and the Hendersons kind of made Bigfoot a joke, you know what I mean? And to me, it's like, even though I liked the movie, I was like, man, Bigfoot's not a joke. Bigfoot is creepy. So I always had this idea of like that, if you get somebody like I remember, you guys remember that movie Greystoke? It was like an old Tarzan movie. It was called Greystoke, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. It didn't do very well, but Stan Winston did the creatures, did like the apes. And they looked damn good, man. They looked really, and also the way they lit them and they shine. I was like, this is, if you have enough money and you do, get somebody like Stan Winston, you can do, I know that there's a good, there's a cool way to bring Bigfoot to life. And then, the low budget Bigfoot movies, even though I like them, like the suits were always lacking. I'm saying? Either they didn't show the creature, which is frustrating because, you want to see some Bigfoot action in a Bigfoot movie, or once you saw the creature, it was like, oh my God, that was terrible. So, I always had this thing in the back of my head that it was like that you could make, a great Bigfoot movie. And then I've actually written 3 Bigfoot movies. I wrote one called Manable Walk. That was my first one. And it was like a period piece with like, where this like, like takes place in the like late 1800s. It's like, in the middle of nowhere. And my thought was like, well, if there was, it seemed like there would have been a lot more Bigfoot back then, so this kind of, group of Sasquatch attack a train, and all these people have to work together to try to, fight off these creatures. And it was, it was a really cool, and still a really cool script. It's one of my favorites. And we shopped it around, and it got, a little bit of heat. A lot of people loved it. But again, nobody was going to give me, $25 million to make a Bigfoot movie.
Bigfoot, I'll tell you what, I don't have a lot of money, but I will donate my hard-earned money to see a Bigfoot heist movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a Bigfoot heist movie, and I'm so about that.
Dude, it's cool. I mean, it's really, really cool. It's, it's one of my favorite scripts that I haven't done. And every once in a while, I'm like, take it out and show it to people and, this and that. and then so then when that and then around that time is when I did Altered, and I started making, I got back on the on the horse and started making movies again. And then Exist, the first one just came again. I was like, I got to make a Bigfoot movie, so we did this like kind of bigger budget found footage movie. And the whole time it was, again, like, I gotta, we gotta do the cool suit. That's the thing. They spend some money on the suits and get something cool. And then Mark Ordesky and Jane and Fleming, who did Lovely Molly with us, we met them, and Mark and I immediately started talking about Bigfoot, and we're going to do a Bigfoot movie and this and that. And Mark knew the Weta guys, the Lord of the Rings, effects guys in New Zealand, who had worked with them. He knew all those guys. So we kind of got involved. We would have calls with Weta, which was kind of crazy, and talk about Bigfoot. And they would send us sketches, and we were going to do like a little sizzle reel, like just to kind of show the creature in action, and then raise the money. And then we were like, like, let's just raise a little more money and just shoot the movie, do a low budget version. So that's when Exists 2, which is just Exists, came out. That's where it came from. And it was, it was a dream come true, man. Like I said earlier, like we hired this company called Spectral Motion, which is run by Mike Elizalde, who's a good friend of mine. And he did the creature in Altered, and he did the creatures in Seventh Moon. And he's just this, he works with Guillermo del Toro. He's like Oscar nominated freaking, effects guy. Wow. And him and I have been talking about Bigfoot for a long time. And so Weta got to the point where they couldn't do it because something was going on or whatever. And then so I sent it over to Mike, and he sent me some sketches, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. So Mike, Elzaldi ended up, Spectral Motion ended up making the suit. And this guy, I don't know anything about like suit performers, but I do know that like it takes a certain kind of person to be in a suit, you can't just get into a regular actor. And he was like, look, man, there's this guy named Brian Steele, and he's like really tall, and he's, he has done Bigfoot before in like I think some of those beef jerky commercials or whatever. and he, he would love to do it. And we worked with him on other things. He's a really great guy. So we were introduced, and Brian started sending me videos of him like walking in his backyard like Bigfoot, and it was just cool. And then and then it got to a point where like I was they would send me hair samples, and I'd be like, all right, what hair should Bigfoot look, what hair color?
Oh my god.
But just all, it was just a trip, man, building Bigfoot. And and we had enough money, luckily, to like spend like couple of $100,000 on the suit. Whoa. Yeah, man, those suits are expensive. I mean, they literally have to put each hair in like at one at a time.
Oh my god.
So, but see, it really shows though in my opinion, one of the things that makes Exists what it is that y'all's Bigfoot is just different. Yeah. It's not like the Jack Links. It's not like the Harry and the Hendersons. It still retains some of that like missing link ape energy, but at the same time, you're like, this is just a different thing that I am looking at. Yeah. Like, this does not look like the Bigfoot that I have always imagined it. It's like ever so more sinister, but at the same time, you still get that, oh, this is a truly misunderstood creature. It's conveyed damn near perfectly.
Yeah, very well so. And that's what I love about the, because most Bigfoot movies, it's go into woods, get attacked by Bigfoot for unknown reasons. But you give your Sasquatch in this humanity. And I love that you set it up right in the beginning where it says they're only harmful if provoked or something along those lines. And so you give us that information right at the beginning, and you're like, okay. But as the movie goes on, you're like, okay, it looks like they hit him in the beginning, but like, he doesn't seem like he's hurt. He's coming after them. And then you get that twist at the end of, oh no, you hit the child, the cub or whatever. And it's like, oh man, that wraps the whole movie together with this nice little bow. And you're like, damn, so it was just coming after you for killing its child. Like it's such a different take on it that I think makes it work so well, because it's not just going into the woods and getting attacked. There's a whole other reason that that Sasquatch is coming after them, which for me it just works so well.
Yeah, that ending, even though you totally front load us with the answer in the first 8 minutes of the movie, it's so quick, but you front load it. And then at the end, you're like, the ending blew me away. I was like, how did he give a Sasquatch more humanity than the characters in the movie?
Yeah. I mean, really, that's the thing. The creature is the main character, you know what I mean? And the biggest, has the biggest arc. And man, I mean, like, that was so important to me because, like, I know, Bigfoot fans, sometimes, I think, well, a lot of times they don't get any respect. It's like the same thing with UFO and, people, but I consider myself one of those people. And I've always felt that, like, one of the main things, like you were saying, Austin, is that the creature is always like this fucking monster that comes at. It's just like this. We're like, why is it killing people? That's not what Bigfoot did. That's not the character of that I know. Again, like, it doesn't really bug you unless you provoke it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so to me, it was like, again, whether the whole belief in Bigfoot is always a big question. People are like, do you believe in it? And I'm like, when I was a kid, I totally believed in it. But now it's like, logic tells me as an adult that I'm like, why haven't we found, remains and, this and, there's still definitely like isolated parts of the United States and the world, but really, why we haven't caught this thing like on a clear video, or like we haven't captured it, what I mean? And all these hunting Bigfoot shows that never freaking catch the creature. But then, so you're like, there's no way. But then, you listen to some of the eyewitnesses that are the sightings that are still happening, and obviously some of those are bull crap. People just making crap up. But there's some of them, like a real quick one. There was actually the guy who plays the Uncle Bob at the end of the movie. His name is Jeff Schwan. We call him Schwani. He was the stunt coordinator. He's the guy that kind of got all the stunts together and stuff. And he already had the job. We were already shooting, and we were already, and on Fridays we would have like a little thing, like just hang out after we shoot and drink a little bit and just kind of talk about the week, a little party. And he was there, and he was like, and he already had the job. I didn't have to like kiss my ass or tell me anything bullshit. And he's like, hey man, did I ever tell you my Bigfoot story? And I'm like, no. So he goes and tells me the story of like that he was driving in the middle of nowhere with his ex-wife, and it was snowy and middle of nowhere, like miles from anything, and they're just trying to get to the town because the snow is falling, and this thing walks across the road and looks at them, and he stops and he looks at the thing on the side, and the thing looks at him, and his wife's like, "Go! What are you doing? Get the hell out of here!" and this is a guy who he obviously is a hunter. I'm not gonna, he's not like a redneck or whatever, but he's like, a man's man. Like, you could tell this guy hunted, and he knows, the woods, and he knows creatures. And I mean, so I'm like, okay, so what the hell did he see? Right. You know what I'm saying, and then so you look at these credible sightings. So it's like, there's got to be something out there. Now, what I know, I don't know what it is. So to me, there's this respect for, they have to have respect for the creature, for the people that believe in this creature. And so it was very important to me to make the creature human, give it human characteristics. Like, if Bigfoot is real, then it's some kind of missing link between, apes and humans, or, whatever, it's some kind of ancestor, offshoot of humans. And so it had to have, it had to have human quality. So for me, it was like, what's more human than like, having a kid and having a love for that, for your offspring, and then these fucking idiot kids come into your freaking woods and run over hit your kid, and now you're just mad, and you're like, why did you do this? And and you're kind of want to kind of teach these guys a lesson, you know what I mean? And so to me, it was very important that like that Bigfoot be like the most, kind of I wanted people to love the creature, I wanted it to be like, oh man, they're scared or whatever, but then at the end we wanted to be like, oh man, he ended up being cooler than the damn humans.
Yeah.
And he definitely was. Like, generally in these type of movies, like, yeah, I'm rooting for all the characters to die because I want to see the carnage. That's what I go for the horror movies for. But in this, like, especially looking at it in hindsight, you're rooting for the creature pretty much off rip. Because, I mean, all the characters are good characters, but they're not characters that I would personally hang out with. I don't like them all that much. So to have the ends justify the means just makes it that much better.
To me, there was, I think we got some great actors, and they did a really good job. But like Jamie and I, like, we kind of were like, because we originally we're gonna, like, should it be, like a family, and he's taking care of his kids and this and that. And I think that we kind of steered away from that because we wanted really to tell, the creature story. You know what I mean? We wanted to tell, more like King Kong, where the movie is like about this creature, and it has like, if you want to say feelings, and it falls in love, and at the end it, ended up getting killed because it falls in love with this woman. And so, I've always loved that, story. So I was like, how do we do that here? And also, and again, bring Bigfoot, which is like a creature that's never really been done, well, I don't think, that well in film.
I agree.
Bring it to life, and also give it like, make it more likable than the other characters. Not that we made them like, we wanted to make, made them like the other characters unlikable, but we knew that like just their banter and like them being clueless and, walking into their, to its territory and running it over, and like, it's just reckless, and they're not supposed to be out in that cabin. Like, they're just making so many basic mistakes.
Yeah, just poor choices all around.
Poor choices, but you kind of have to be like, you know what, you guys deserve to be, punished. And, and they put in, they luckily it worked. And so to me, it was like, that really was my main, goal in making the movie, was like, I want to bring Bigfoot to life in a way that very few monster movies have ever done to any monster, let alone Bigfoot. And again, that was one of the most amazing moments for me when, we went to California and this is the first time to like see Brian Steele in the Bigfoot suit. We had met him, we had seen the suit, we saw them, pictures of it being made and all that stuff, picked out the hair, all that stuff. And now he was going to, the application had been put on, and we decided early on that we weren't going to do like animatronic, like you wanted Brian to be able to like, act, because that's what he does. And for me, so we went, we're in the back, and we were like, in the middle of like, concrete jungle, one of the, Burbank, or I don't know where we were, somewhere. And they have their parking lot. They have like a little bit of like just a couple of trees with some, shrubbery, in the back of the parking lot. So we're like, take Brian out there, and his suit was all clean. Like, we hadn't done like the kind of the realism pass of like giving him scars and making him dirty and stuff. And Brian just starts doing the Bigfoot thing, and he like is like rummaging through stuff and pretending to put things in his mouth. We're shooting it with the camera, and I was like, holy shit, man, I can get right in there, and it looks real. It looks like some kind of humanoid creature, So that's to me, I was like, okay, I think we have a chance of the end working, because it's again, it's like, no matter how much money you spend on it or whatever, it's still a guy in a suit. You know what I mean? So you have to like work your way around it and shoot it in the right way and edit it in the right way. But so that ending part in the movie, I was really worried about it because I'm like, how am I gonna convey this, from with a wide angle? You know what I mean? Like, and I just love just the performance that Brian gave, and the music.
Mm-hmm.
Nima did a great job, and it's just like it just came together. Chris Osborne's performance, and again, like you feel bad for him, but you're like, dude, you brought this upon yourself, but you do, you're just like, and then again, the creature shows compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is like somehow we made that work, and and again, like the movie, it was not a big success, but it made a little money and stuff, and but I wish it would have like blown up so we could have made a sequel, because I just felt that I still feel like there's some cool, I still have some Bigfoot stories inside of me, and hope I'll be able to throw some of them up on the big screen.
I will gladly help fund anything to get more Eduardo Sanchez Bigfoot movies. But yeah, that's what I think works so well is like, it's almost like Bigfoot the Sasquatch has this character arc. You know what I mean? Like, you see him in the beginning and they get hit and then he's retaliating and then he has compassion in the end for, so it's just this really interesting, because Chris, is that the guy who survives is Chris, right? Is that his name?
The main guy, the pothead guy, that's Chris Osborne. That's the actor,
yeah. So he survives in the end, and it's just really interesting to watch everything play out. And something I noticed on this rewatch of it, probably because I had the commentary on, was that it's real quick. But when they show the grave of the cub, there's also another grave that's next to the cub that's been filled in. So, and you guys said that this was supposed to be a female Sasquatch. That's like basically the mate, like this thing is alone now. Yeah, it's completely alone. There's the mate's buried, the cub's buried, and I think that's why the retaliation was so aggressive.
Yeah,
it's like
that's why there's like no hope. Like this thing is lost. Man, I mean, it was cool. Like, and again, that's one of those things where like, you notice, we didn't want to like, hit people over the head with it. I mean, just the camera going to the cub is enough. You know what I mean? Like with the flies, and you're like, oh my God. And that little cub is so cute.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, these bastards ran over the cub. But I mean, it could be a female, could be a male. Like, we really wanted it to be a female, but we were like, if we put breast on this thing, it's going to be, we don't want to make a joke out of it.
Right.
Like, not that breasts are a joke, but breasts on a creature, you kind of, people are going to be like, it's breasts. And so for me, it's like a flat-chested woman, female creature, but it could be a man, male too. I just love the, it's again, like I said earlier, it's like this connection with your kid. Like, and animals share that, man. You see like other animals with their kid, with their, offspring, and you're like, damn, they love their freaking offspring as well. You know what I mean? So there's, it was kind of a cool little story. And again, we kind of aimed high with trying to give, Bigfoot an arc, I think we did a good job with it. So
no, I agree. And even on that same note of giving Bigfoot basically an arc, I love how throughout the movie you start, you pretty much see full fucking body at one real quick glance, but throughout the movie you show a little bit more and a little bit more and just a little bit more, and then by the time you get to the end, when you're just like close up on his face, you're like, this is everything I want from a Bigfoot movie. I want the slow reveal. You get those kind of blurry moments, like that one scene. There's two scenes that like legitimately terrify the fuck out of me, and it's the one where guys on the bike going down trying to get out, and the Sasquatch is just like I'm like
sprinting at him,
running as fast as him.
Oh, like no, that is horrifying.
You're not getting away from it.
Terrifying.
That was, again, it's like you write these scenes, and actually that running scene was the first thing we shot with Brian, because we shot for like, I think we had a 4-week shoot. we shot for 2 weeks without the creature, and then Brian came in for 2 weeks, and we did like 10 days with the creature.
Wow.
And that was the first time that, and honestly, I mean, look, man, you do a lot of filmmaking. I mean, you kind of don't know if it's going to work. That's kind of what the exciting part of it. You kind of rolling the dice, and sometimes it works, and most of the time I think it works. Sometimes it doesn't. We've seen movies where you're like, man, what the hell was that? Well, they were trying something, and it just didn't happen or whatever. But for us, it was like, man, we've spent a lot of money on this creature. Like, what the hell is it going to look good? Is it going to? Because this is the first time we're going to shoot it, and and it was funny because Jeff Schwan, the stunt coordinator, Brian came to the set, and we're like, oh, the creature, everybody's all excited, and he's and it's it's funny because he's just sitting in a chair, and he's got the fan on him, and he's drinking out of a straw, like and with a straw, and Jeff came over to me, he goes, hey man, remember that story I told you about the one I saw here? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's what I saw, man. I was like, all right, dude, we got it right. So we cleared this path for Brian, and he was just running, and we had the camera on like an ATV, and back and forth, and then with the editing, Andy Jenkins did a great job editing that sequence, and and that was the first sequence that we we finished. And we watched it, and we were like, oh man, I think we got something cool here, because this scene is before like the sound design and all that stuff that kind of made it, that brought it to the next level. And so that was really exciting, like just having him on set, and dude, we weren't shooting in the middle of summer, because I think he would have had a heart attack. But we were, Texas gets hot, pretty early, you guys. Florida. I mean, it's kind of gets some as bad as Florida,
Yeah.
We were like, this was like April, I think, was when we shot the movie. So it was kind of hot, but not crazy. But man, he would sweat so much in that suit that he would the hands are foam. He would squeeze his hands and like this, like this sweat. And it was fascinating watching Brian work, because first of all, he has to train, he trained to get his body into that shape. And he has like this eating regimen and this like fluid regimen, because you can't pee in the suit.
Oh shit.
So there's this thing of like, okay, I have to, keep the fluids coming in, but not too much, because I don't want to, fill my bladder. And so it's this whole thing. And it was just fascinating to see. He had and on this time he had to have a little power bar, and in this he had a half a banana, and just this like very scientific, nutrition. And by the end, we had him for like, I think we could, because it was a couple hours to get in the suit, and then a couple hours to get out of the suit. So we had him, and then you can't work a guy in a suit 10 hours. So I think we had him for like between 4 and 6 hours. And by the end, he was just like, it's hard, man. It's because the suit is heavy, and it's like, not only just the heat, but it's just the weight all over your body. And he's running and swatting at things, and it's not like he's just hanging out, but it was great. He was a real trooper, and him and I are still friends, and I just really appreciate the work he did for the movie.
Yeah, so it's interesting to know that there's no CG with that running scene, because it looks so good, but I'm like, did they do this practically? So that's fascinating to know you guys did that with an ATV.
Everything was practical. I mean, the only thing we used for CG was to get rid of the wires. Whoa. Like the scene where he jumps off the onto the
I was about to say, the only thing that looks even remotely, and not even like fully CG, but just like not 100% practical, was that jump down scene.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm like, maybe they were just using a weird lens for that.
Yeah, it was the reason. I think it looks pretty good, but there's a level like you can't really drop a guy 30 feet or whatever. So he was on wire. So it was like the descent was fast, but not like normal, like a normal speed.
Oh, okay.
But, it was like,
yeah.
I don't know. I love, it's like that's one of those things where you're like, it's one of those trailer moments where you're like, man, I hope this works. And we did it like, I didn't think we did 3 or 4 fall, jumps, and we were really happy with it. But again, CG, the only thing we did was to just, get the wires and just stuff that we didn't want to see out of the frame.
That's impressive. Yeah, I love obviously practical effects. I think that's the most effective. So that's awesome to know that there's very little to no CG, and the fact that you did basically throw a guy off a cliff on some wires, that makes that scene even more impactful. And I love the second he jumps onto that RV and then comes into comes inside, he just like bolts through and bashes through the side of it. Like it's such a great scene.
I love the whole trailer sequence in general. I'm like,
so
he's gonna actually throw the trailer off of there, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, they flipped a trailer.
No, I mean, look, the movie was pretty low budget, and we did some, again, because of the effects guys and Jeff, the stunt coordinator. And yeah, man, we basically put the trailer on the, kind of like on these holders, these stands, and then we just rolled it with like 3 stunt people inside,
Oh shit.
Yeah, man, it was hardcore.
Well, it's just one of those scenes that like you can't fake this. Like they did this for real.
And that's
No, I mean it was, and it was. I mean, look, for what the resources we had, we definitely went over. And again, it's the same thing. Like you hire talented people, and you give them enough resources, and and give them respect, and give them enough time, and people they do incredible things for you. And the 2 guys that did the special effects for the movie, I still know. We worked on Queen of the South together, and
awesome.
I'm still friends of mine. And it's cool, man. I mean, it's like you go through these movies, and like there's a certain it's kind of like it's kind of a little bit of being in a unit in the army, where you kind of have gone through this war, and you survived. I mean, obviously you're not getting shot at, luckily, even though sometimes you're getting shot at. But it's like you just bond with people, and again, I just appreciate so much, because when you're doing low budget, you're not paying people enough, really. So people are doing it just because they love the project, or they like you, or or sometimes there isn't any other work and they have to do it. But I just really appreciate like people kind of coming out and like really doing such great work for for our film, and really making it as good as it is.
Yeah, for how good that RV scene looks, I'm like, short of them pushing it off an actual cliff, how did they get that done? So knowing how they got it done, and put it on a gimbal and you spun it. So that's still so badass. Because I'm like, it looks so real. There's no way they didn't do this practically in some way. So you basically just had 3 stunt guys, just kind of rolling around in an RV, basically.
Yeah, I mean, basically the first part was being pushed. You get like that side angle, and then it goes over the edge. And then so that was practical. Like we basically had the trailer. We had like a crane like holding it up, and then it pushed it, and then yeah, I mean, it was, the effects guys, the Braun brothers are pretty freaking amazing guys, and they did really amazing work for for it being not super low budget, pretty low budget. And then we cut inside, and it was like our big thing is that we want to kill anybody. We didn't want to get anybody to get hurt for a Bigfoot movie, or for any movie.
Right.
That's the worst thing, man. When you're on set and somebody gets hurt, it just feels like it's just it's not right.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely not the goal of being on a movie set, is to hurt anybody. So as long as you can do it safely but get the shots you need, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So listening to the commentary, you guys had mentioned kind of how the Sasquatch howl was done, and you said something about like a Sasquatchophone or something.
Yeah, I think it's a Squatchophone or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, man. This guy named Matt Davies he edited all the effects, and he made this like saxophone out of like pipes, and just crazy. I mean, and this, I mean, these guys like live for this kind of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was cool because there were local guys here in Maryland, and they and that's another thing, like, testing out like the personality of the creature, like what does it sound like, what is it, and again, not only what does it move like with Brian, but also what does it sound like, what kind of noises does it make, how does it sound going through the woods, and the howls were very important. Like we wanted it to sound like at those howls as like, this thing is mourning, this thing is crying, and how does a creature crying, to me it's like creepy, it's creepy that something's like, the hell is that, but and once you realize that what it is, it's kind of it's very sad, but he had a great time, and there's video somewhere on on the web or something of him working the squatchophone or whatever, but it was like this monstrosity of pipes that he like kept screwing things in and to get the right tone, and then he would play it,
Wow.
So yeah, it was good, man. That again, like you hire the right people and they, you let them do good work. They usually do good work for you. So
it's crazy that wasn't something done in. So would he just be in the woods playing that thing basically, or did you kind of ADR it into later scenes?
No, I mean, in the, I'm not sure. I mean, we had like a big boom box, like this big portable like speaker. And then the sound guys, when we were shooting the movie, they were in Maryland. They never came down, but they sent us just samples, like that scene, like the scene where Brian, the pothead guy is out there, and the guys come out and scare him. They come around.
With the paintballs,
and then the paintball scene, yeah. And then the howl, that howl was like, we didn't like show it. We didn't let the guys hear it until that moment. They hear this, and they're like, and so the reaction is, genuine. So we had that. And I think we had the kind of the crying there just to give the actors something to respond to, but I can't remember. I mean, look, because it's like you're doing found footage, and like you try to, since you're taking advantage of the reality of the situation as much as possible. You try to like make things happen for real in the frame. And that's why, doing a practical creature was, very helpful, for the performance of the creature and for their performance, because they were like, they saw this thing there, right? Right in their faces sometimes. So
yeah, and that's and it looks so good, and there's that other scene that's another really scary one that I know it's coming, like I know the jump scare is coming, but when they're lighting off all the fireworks and then he just barrels through the smoke, fucking gets me every single time. And I'm sure being on set, having that come towards you, that'd probably be scary as shit. The reaction is probably very genuine in that scene. So
no, I mean, they were the actors were real troopers, but there was this creepiness with the creature, and we, it's, there's always this thing of like, how much do you show the people, how much do you show the actors before the shoot? How much do you? So there's always this level of like, let's keep it hidden, let's not hear and let's not play the sound until we're shooting and stuff like that. And so we try to, we definitely try to keep the creature like hidden as much as possible until it was like time to let them have it,
I love that. And that's another thing, I think, in contrast to the Blair Witch. I think we briefly touched on this in the last time you were on. The Blair Witch is basically all tell, no show, and this is the complete opposite of basically all show, no tell. Although there is a really good story about how they're not supposed to be there. Uncle Bob doesn't know they're there. No one knows they're there. They have no cell phone service. So they kind of, I think Brian's the character, the pothead guy. He kind of did this to everyone without them knowing. So it's the story is great, but I mean, you show so much. And Was that kind of intentional to kind of, because it's for me, I love to compare and contrast those two found footage movies because they're, and even down to the ending of how Blair Witch ends when you have the guy facing the corner. And then in this one, you have camera on guy's face, so it's the juxtaposition of how these movies were shot is totally different. Did you do that intentionally, or did that just kind of happen, naturally with the Bigfoot, with Exists?
Well, I mean, for sure, like, Blair Witch, it was like, we had no money, and again, Blair Witch is like a different movie. It's like sound. It's more like what you don't see, and I think that there's a level of like, I like those kinds of movies, but for me, if you do a monster like Jaws, like Jaws is a movie about a shark, so you want to see the shark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want it to look good, and you don't want it to and you don't want it like to I mean, a lot of films, I think, especially movies that had like CG, like they just give away everything at the beginning, and you're kind of like, so that and some of those movies really work, but I always loved the Jaws model where like you just show like a little bit of glimpse of something, you show the after effects of this thing, what it does. You show people's reaction to it, but you slowly reveal it. And I think for me, like the reason to do a Bigfoot movie was to show Bigfoot.
Right.
At the end, I wanted it to be Jaws on the boat, and you're like, at the end of Jaws, you like, I saw the shark. I mean, regardless, I mean, it has aged a little bit. It still looks pretty good, but but you see the shark, that's what you pay your money for. And again, like I said earlier, a lot of the Bigfoot movies build up really well, and you're like, all right, give me the creature. And then you're like, you see the creature's legs or something. You're like, what? Come on, man, give me the creature. And I think that's a big cheat, for me. It's like, I want, if you make a movie, a monster movie, that's what, so that's the difference. Blair Witch is more like a psychological thriller horror. And Bigfoot Exists as a monster movie. It's like Jaws, like King Kong. It's like Loch Ness Monster. Like you want, at the end, you want to keep the creature creepy and scary and, mysterious. But at the end, you want to see that creature in your face, as much as you can show without it looking like crap. So that's kind of where we were with, the Exists is like, okay, at the end, man, this thing is right there in front of this guy, and he zooms in on it, and you see the freaking saliva come out of his mouth, and you see it all sweaty, and like, it's there, so like, so that, and again, they're both found footage movies. So there's certain like kind of rules that you have to follow. There's certain like tools that you use, certain tricks that you use. And the difference is like, Exist was like, 15 years after Blair Witch. So like the whole found footage genre had evolved. Like Blair Witch has no music except the end, the credits. Exist has a, full soundtrack. So now, found footage movies have soundtracks. It's not, there isn't this thing of like, okay, I'm trying to fool people that this is real, that this really happened. No, it's a movie, but it's shot in that style to, make things, a little more, more exciting in a different way. So, but yeah, at the end, it's a found footage movie, and, you're kind of limited, by what you can show and how you can show it. And that, and it was really cool to be, because I never thought I would make another found footage movie, honestly. And it was cool to go back and say, I think I can go back and kind of, do it again. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's and that's what I think. So a lot of times when there are found footage movies that state that they're real or that they are found footage and they have a score, that usually irritates me, but this is not presented of like, oh, we found this footage. It's just it's presented in that format of just being shot on a handheld camera. So the score, to me, I was like, I'm okay with this because they're not presenting this as, oh, we just found this, because why would you?
And again, like it's the different, like Blair Witch is not lit, like they're basically like have a light on top of the camera, because we wanted to be like, okay, how does it look at night out there when you don't have huge lights? Exists, it's a lit night. There's like weird, there's lighting. It's a film. It's a movie. It's a movie. The Blair Witch is more like, it's supposed to be, like you were saying, it's supposed to be real.
Right.
And I love that kind of that freedom of being like not having to like, limit myself or pretend that this wasn't a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, and you also kind of covered it up a little well, because multiple times throughout the movie, Brian mentions, we're going to have the biggest YouTube video ever. We're going to have the biggest this ever. And it gives you that almost excuse to be like, we can throw a little extra production in here because it was eventually meant to be a piece of entertainment for the internet. It seems like,
because he was
so
looking
having
for it,
the backing music and having that little bit of extra, it makes sense in the lore of the movie.
And the sound mix of the movie too is incredible. I usually try to watch it on my surround sound every time, and it sounds so good. Just the creature howling, all the effects, the score, it all comes together so well. And like that creature howling, man, it really gets me every single time. It's especially that loud one, the one that we were talking about earlier that they didn't know was coming. That one gets me every time too. It's like, it's so unnerving and unsettling, and just the sound mix is top notch on
especially
even for the DVD,
especially with all the other Foley, like when Bigfoot is just absolutely destroying the cabin. Y'all are probably just actually destroying the cabin and recording the noises of it, because it's so well in your ears. You're like, oh yeah, no, this is I know they're destroying this cabin.
Yeah, no, man, that was a company called Studio Unknown, and they're fucking amazing. And they it's like they do just great work, man. I've been really lucky with my films. Like, they've all got good have pretty talented sound people working on it. And Blair Witch was kind of like low tech, but it still sounded cool, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't supposed to be like super crazy surround. It was, it's supposed to be realistic. But I mean, again, man, it's like, I've been really blessed with like, really great collaborators, and from the, guy in a suit to writers to, crew people and to sound, I couldn't think of better people to help me do this,
Well, we'll keep hoping for that energy going forward and looking out for anything new that's on your horizon. Cory, that's all I've got for Ed today. Did you have anything else real quick before we wrap up here?
So circling way back earlier in the conversation, you had mentioned you were shooting on like a film stage style property that had like woods and stuff. Was the tunnel nest on property, or did y'all have to like build that out?
The tunnel nest was the entrance was on property. It was like this kind of gorge, and then our production designer Andrew White built kind of like the den.
Oh wow.
And it was just weird because it's like, it was like this, it's just such a cramped space, and we wanted it to feel that way, you know what I mean? And but it was a cool scene to shoot because and getting, I mean, again, Brian Steele is a big dude, but getting him in that tunnel was kind of fun. Was a fun thing to do. But that was a set. And then like the cabin, we built the cabin on the property, and then we destroyed it, and then they fixed it, and it's been in a lot of other shows and stuff.
Nice.
Like every once in a while, hasn't happened for a while, but somebody's like, hey Ed, man, I'm shooting at the Exist cabin, we're on shooting a TV, this show or whatever, and we're shooting here. Oh, that's cool. So it has appeared in other shows, and it was just, again, like the Spiderwood was like the perfect place that, had the woods, but it also had like the resources nearby that you could like, again, from the, just to get a little respite from the heat and from the, humidity and the flies, the mosquitoes, and the snakes, man. We had snakes out there.
Texas.
What's funny is we went to the location like in the winter, like that winter of before we shot, and just to scout and to be to make sure that we wanted to shoot there. And the owner was like, we were like, hey, so what's the snake situation? They're like, oh no, we don't have many snakes. We drove them out, when we came in, and we're like, all right. we show up in the spring. I've never seen so many snakes in my life. It was like a snake fest. Like you're walking down and they'd be like going across the road, and they did move out. The snakes kind of start moving out once humans move in because they don't like humans. But our AD got bit by a snake. Luckily, we had snake guards. We bought snake guards for everybody, so everybody was wearing. I still have my snake guards in case I do another movie with snakes. So it was that kind of thing, man. Where you're walking around, you're like, I hope I don't get freaking hit by a snake. And then we had this. There was a lower road that we didn't shoot on because it was we literally called it water moccasin lane. And you would walk on this thing and there would be like the moccasin just on the trees, and they would drop into the water as you came. But then there was a couple that were huge, and they just sit there and watch you go by, like try to fuck with me, motherfucker. So it was there's definitely some snake things, and then there's like these worms, these things like caterpillars, and people were like they're poisonous, and it was just so it was hard. But you're shooting in the woods, you gotta that's what you have to expect crap like that, so.
Well, I'm glad you made it through the water moccasins and all the poisonous bugs.
Water moccasin lane. I don't recommend that part of the tour.
Yeah, glad you're still here, because those things are no joke. We have water moccasins in Florida. They are no fucking joke. All right, well, Ed, where can everybody follow you? Facebook, social media, if they want to keep up with you and your progress, tell everybody where they can find you.
There's a Facebook group called Hacks and Films, and that's really where I'm at most of the time with my business stuff. And then there's I'm on Blue Sky now. Okay. I think it's I don't even know my name on Blue Sky, but anyway, look me up. But yeah, Facebook and Blue Sky is pretty much where I'm at, and then and I'm trying to stay off Twitter, but and really just trying to stay off social media as much as I can. Anyway, it's kind of depressing these days, but man. No, thanks for having me, man. It was always great talking to you guys, and I'll hopefully this isn't the last time we talk.
All right, yeah, I love that. We'll definitely there's plenty other things we could talk about that we would love to have you back for. Yeah. And pick your brain on. So at this point, everybody should know where to follow us. But if you are enjoying the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Slasher app at frightmarespodcast. Next week, me and Cory will actually be back doing Christine from 1983. So until then, stay tuned and stay spooky.
Stay spooky.